We finished off the last section talking about receiving communications, and I want to elaborate a bit more about what we received using this configuration here and how we could also do that differently. If you recall on the last video, we did get some data using the JS8 call, and it had a call sign KN4ZXF. Just so you know, we were picking up a communications from Virginia Beach, Virginia, as shown over here. So to receive, our configuration doesn't need to be so complicated. For one thing, we don't need the antenna tuner. In reality, we don't really need a lot of this equipment that we have here. If you look down there, there's some other options for just receiving only, which is a great thing for people that aren't licensed. They can still listen in on the conversations that are going on amongst licensed ham operators. There are devices called software-defined radios that will allow you to either hook into your computer or have a screen on them. Be careful though when you shop around for these. The price can get quite high, but the ones that just go in a computer USB port and use your computer for viewing can get quite reasonable. Here's a good example of one. It does, it's $29, $8 shipping, and supports these bands: AM, FM, upper sideband, lower sideband, CW, which is very important to match what the people are using who are ham operators. So you need to be able to support all the different modulation formats that people are doing so you can listen to the conversations that are being said. Transmitting, on the other hand, is as easy as pushing this one button PTT push to talk button on the TrueSDX. The problem is not transmitting as per se, but transmitting so that somebody can actually hear you. And since the TrueSDX supports 5 different bands, it's impossible to get an antenna that would support all of those just straight out of the box. Antenna tuning is required, and if you don't tune an antenna properly and you have a really whacked out difference between the two, you could actually damage your radio. So, push and talk, when you're not licensed is also a bad thing, but it's more that it's a bad thing because you really don't know what you're doing, and most of us don't know what we're doing, and we can damage things. So that's probably the biggest reason. And reason 2 is nobody's going to hear you anyways. So we need to make these things so that they can be tuned properly, and that's what the next part is for. To do that, we're going to introduce the Light VNA, which is a vector network analyzer. Supports frequencies 50 kilohertz to 6.33 gigahertz, and cost me about $200 to purchase. The antenna analyzer itself is quite a cool little gadget. It has no power required, but does have a little LED that glows when there is an untuned antenna. So we're going to combine the tuning capabilities of this antenna tuner along with the tuning capabilities of the Nano VNA. So there's the 2 options, and here's a schematic for those inclined to see what's inside of this box. We're going to concentrate on the bands that are supported by default using the TrueSDX. There is actually other firmware to change these bands, but I think it's just good to actually just get these working. Should be quite acceptable as far as having a good communications method. Here's the tuning configuration as an overview. We turn these dials, and it's actually going to show us what frequencies this guy is going to be tuned into based on that dial setting. I have this particular scale set out to 1 to 30 megahertz, so it kind of shows the whole range of frequencies that this particular box supports. And we will get into more specifics, but what you want to do is get to the very bottom. So the lower you get, that's an SWR of 1 to 1. So that little bump on the bottom down there is a 1 to 1, or pretty close to that, which is the ideal setting for a tuned system.